Yeah, I was talking with some people, and it's nice, like to talk to people about the things that you've gone through. And I was talking about George Wilkinson when he came to Chelmsford prison. George was a big guy, massive guy, red hair, uh, 6'4", something like that, I suppose. Big built. They called me into the chief's office, asked me if I would look after a guy called Wilkinson. I thought it was Jim Wilkinson because I knew Jim, Wembley lot, a bank robber. But anyway, it wasn't him. So I said, yeah, I look after him because I was massive. I was really big. And I'd love to do that. You know what I mean? That and I was getting more money. So yeah, I'd do it. And when I walked into this guy's cell, he was a giant, George. Talking like that, but he had so many drugs. I just monged him out, and his he all he wanted to do was see his mum, and she was up north somewhere, and they put him in Parkhurst, and he couldn't ever get to see his mum, and he was asking for a helicopter and all that, But he took hostage, and they slipped the cuffs and this, that, and the other, and they got him, and they just bashed him up, mate. Jabbed, they give him more drugs than anybody. Made him just someone that needs medication, And he was a zombie, mate. He was zombified. And when he come to Chelmsford prison, he was battered, mate. He'd been in so many prisons. He was like the same as me, 1074. They put him on. He was in a bad way, mate. And when they put him in this cell downstairs next to the kitchen, I walked in there to sort of like introduce myself to him. He didn't really care who it was. He didn't know whatever, mate. He was all right, mate, And his cell was in a bit of a state, so he tidied it up and made it comfortable for George, yeah. And I had George come to my cell one day, made him a cup of tea and give him a bit of cake and sandwiches and stuff, And then he went downstairs. He was good, George, you know what I mean? He was all right, mate. But he was a big guy. If he went into one, he would cause problems, And I could hear crashing and smashing one day, and I went down there, he smashed. He had a big locker above his head, he was going crazy. The screws wouldn't go in there. Asked me to go in there. Went in there, and he had pills. He had all his mess all over the poor poo, everything, everywhere, yeah. And, calmed him down. He put the locker down, and I said, "Look, go to my cell, George, while I clean up." I said, "But don't mess my cell up, George. You know what I mean? Don't mess my cell up. My cell was beautiful, you know what I mean?" So anyway, I cleaned his cell, mopped it all up, the poo everywhere, cleaned it. I didn't care, you know what I mean? Poor kid, Wait, my cell was sitting there, and he made himself a cup of tea, mess everywhere, everything all over the gaff. What can you say, you know what I mean? And then, he was getting okay. I was taking him down the gym with me, but he was so weak. He was weak in, weights, but he's, that strength, something mad. He had that strength, yeah. And anyway, I said to the guy down the gym, I said, "Look, he's, leave him alone, I'll look after him, he'll be okay." The guy said, "Look, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just walking about causing problems. We don't really want him down the gym way." So I said, "Please, Governor," you know what I mean? So he let him down a couple of times, but in the end, I didn't want him to come down no more because it was too much trouble, George. So one day he was upstairs, caused problems with Mickey Green on the stove. I thought Mickey Green was going to do him with a pot and this, bash him up and all that, and steam into him with other people, but he didn't, And George went in his cell. I come up to see George, and then next day, George done the same thing, went into the kitchen, causing a problem. Mickey Green come into the kitchen. He was in the television room, cooking a meal. George has caused more problems. And then Mickey Green's walked to the television room. George then has walked into the television room just to cause problems, I think. Went in there, turned the television over. Lucky he never got killed in there, mate, because you've got Fraser in there, Tibbs is in there, Dixon's in there, Toby Ludlow in there, Ronnie Malloy. So it was full of faces, Ronnie Bent. It's full of faces, mate. And he was lucky he never got himself absolutely hurt. He picked the television up and smashed it on the floor. And then the screws went mad, man. They just rushed in. It looked like he was going to get murdered by all these people, you know. But he was so crazy that they didn't really rush him and bash him up. I just left him do what he got to do. He was screaming and shouting. And then the screws come and took him down the block. But from C-Wing, L-Wing, to the block was about, I don't know, 50 yards. And then you got to walk into the block, you know. But when I got to see George down the block, he was bashed right up. You know, they bashed him up, mate. They really smashed him. I don't know what they hit him with, but his head was smashed to pieces. He was in a cell with mattresses. You know, they didn't have a padded cell. He was laying in there. He was, I wanted to see him. He said, begged me, mate. He begged me not to let them take him away. But what can you do, you know what I mean? You know, I come out, and number one chief was there. He said, look, Ray, he's got to go. He didn't say Ray, he said Illy, yeah? He said, Illy's got to go, mate. I said, the governor, please don't send him away. Let me try him one more time. He went, no, he's too dangerous. They'll wind up killing him. You know, they don't realise the people in there will wind up killing him. He smashed the television and he's gone crazy. Television is right. It's special. In them days, you know how to tell in your cell, you had this television room, you know what I mean? It was a special thing. So he said, no, he's going. And then he wound up in the Ville, I think. And they strapped him up, all his ties, and he snapped them, smashed the hospital up. And in the end, George, he didn't know. All he wanted to do is see his mum. They sent him up north. He was in a bad way. I think his mum come to see him, or vice versa, went to see his mum, not quite sure. But whatever it was, the other one didn't know each other. So George has gone through all that in his life, and he didn't even know his mum in the end because of all the drugs. But they eventually killed him, mate. You know, the prison system definitely killed him, yeah. It's a book people should buy out there. It's called Fighting for Your Life. And I said, I'm in it. 131549 Hill is my number. I'm in it, you know, but it's sad to think, you know, what they can do to people, yeah. You know. Anyway, bang, bang, roll. Good morning.